President Trump doesn't wait, he works. And for American patients, he works at lightning speed. He cut red tape and saved millions of lives. Gave hope to millions more with Right to Try, giving the terminally ill a chance to live. And he built public-private partnerships that created groundbreaking cures. He made history in just 4 years. By January 20th, 2029, President Trump will make cancer history.
You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network and the John Fredericks Radio apps. Great to have you with us. We're live on Roku TV, Fire Stick, and also Apple TV. Just go to the app, put in John Fredericks. I'll come right up by the second R, or you might need a device depending on what your TV is, but any of those have it. Don't forget our live show from the White House, 2:30 to 3 o'clock Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We break in live with that special edition. Also, I'm in the White House press rotation pool on Wednesday, so I'll get to go to the Oval Office for that. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to your calls, 888-480-JOHN, 888-480-5646. Thank you, Rabbi Yaakov Menken, for putting your title there in the Chiron for me, Executive Director of Advancing American Freedom. I like that. New title he's got. And he's also the Executive Vice President of the Coalition of Jewish Values. No, Paul. See, Rabbi, you put it under your name. Paul Teller is the Executive Director of Advancing American Values. One of these days, guys, I'm going to get these titles straight. Okay. Rabbi Yaakov Menken, who is joining us, is the Executive Director. Forget it, guys. It's too many titles. Vice President of, oh my goodness. Are you both vice presidents? Forget your titles. Rabbi Menken and Paul Teller with us, both on video. So you guys have gotten out of the Stone Age. Great to have you with us.
Good to be with you.
I was all set with your titles, and then the rabbi is in the chat there, and he's got your title under his name, and I'm like, well, he just went to a different organization. And then forget the titles. It's Rabbi and Paul. We're just going with that. Okay. Let's
got it.
Good to see you guys.
Let's start with the passing of the Pope. How are Jews viewing what has happened to the Catholic Church, Rabbi?
It's a really, it's tricky. Honestly, we approach it very similarly to the way a lot of traditional Catholics have approached it. They were very unhappy with the recently departed Pope. Besides his acceptance of left-wing talking points on LGBTQ, etc., which of course is very foreign to Catholic and Christian doctrine. At the same time, you have, from our perspective, his rewrite of the historical relationship between the Jews and Israel, depicting Jesus as a Palestinian, which is just historical revisionism and extremely offensive at the same time. It's like, you don't know a thing about Jesus if you don't recognize that he was a Jew. I mean, it's like, and his family was Jewish, and that was the whole point.
There's a movement called Jews for Jesus. How do you guys view that?
Is that one for me also?
That should definitely be for you. Yeah.
It's, look, it's mistaken. We have a very different doctrine than Christianity. We have a very different vision of what the Messiah is and the Messiah shall be. And one thing about that particular organization is that they're very dishonest about how they pursue their goals. I mean, obviously, they're all about conversionary, efforts for Christianity, but they're trying to depict it as inherently Jewish. It's very, very different. And, obviously, we have great respect for Christians, especially Christians who support Israel. But organizations like that are just out to kind of muddy the waters, as it were.
Let's get to Paul Teller, the Executive Director of what's your organization, Paul? Advancing American Values.
Executive Vice President, Advancing American Freedom. So that's okay. We'll get it eventually.
He's getting it. By the end of this interview, we'll have John trained.
Paul,
My fault. I decided to put both titles in the Chiron to make it easy. And Paul, that next thing I knew, John was thinking I had Paul's title. Oops.
No, all good.
It's all good. Paul, Mike Huckabee confirmed ambassador. Is that going to make it? Is that what does that mean? Is there going to be a change? I mean, I thought Friedman was a great ambassador. Obviously, he was able to move our embassy to Jerusalem. What is this going to matter?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, yeah, David Friedman set an incredibly high bar, right? I mean, it's going to be hard to top that. He was a fantastic ambassador. Hope he still stays active in the space. I'm sure he will. But yeah, I think Rabbi Menken will strongly agree with me on this. But the Jewish community, the pro-Israel community, very excited about Mike Huckabee. We just know he's a fantastic advocate for Israel. And here's the thing, and again, I think Rabbi will agree with me. We know that a lot of times Jewish folks are best protected in the world by believing Christians. And so sending a believing Christian as U.S. ambassador to Israel, I think, is actually a strong signal at this moment that we're not only pro-Israel as Americans, we are pro-Jew. And I've heard nothing but positive praise. Also know some good folks that will be with him at the embassy, strong, passionate defenders of Israel and the Israel-American alliance. So yeah, this is all good news.
Where are we politically now with Hamas? We don't really have a ceasefire in place. They still have hostages. Paul, define where we are right now.
So it's a great question. I appreciate you reminding folks of the hostages, because unfortunately that seems to have mostly disappeared from kind of our day-to-day news feeds, right? You don't really see a lot about the hostages. You're starting to see more about this possible U.S. deal with Iran, which I think has a lot of pro-Israel folks very nervous. What does that mean? Does it include surrender, like we've talked about on your show here? Does it include hostages going away? Does it include a total elimination of any nuclear energy or any nuclear power or any nuclear anything from Iran or anything Iran controls? Sure hope so. I would think that's what President Trump would negotiate. But again, we're all a little bit nervous, so we gotta see what's coming out. But that's the state of play with Gaza, because since they're just a tool of Iran, it all relates to, I think, that deal that's forthcoming.
Rabbi, what is the level of frustration you think that President Trump has right now with a lack of progress being made towards peace?
Well, I think it's extreme. I mean, the thing is that the president has demonstrated a very clear-eyed perspective on, just not only the influence of, on Israel, but, you have radical Islamic terrorism creating trouble all over that region, down into Africa, Boko Haram in Nigeria. And in this one particular case, you've got Americans on the left claiming that the radical Islamic terrorists are right, and that's because the Jews are wrong. You see, it's not. You look at the entire rest of the Middle East. In every case, we call out radical Islamic terror for what it is, and everybody knows what side civilization is on. But when it comes to Israel, all of a sudden, people pretend to be confused about what is really quite obvious. The situation, it is as Paul described. First of all, President Trump nominated an extremely pro-Israel, extremely friendly new nominee to be ambassador to Israel, who, by the way, because he's not Jewish, because he is a Christian, is immune to that dual loyalty nonsense. So it's obvious that he's out there focusing on what's right for America, not what's right for Israel alone, which of course is what David Friedman would be accused of occasionally by those who wanted to impeach what he was doing for the U.S.-Israel relationship. When you've got the situation that as it stands now, how could President Trump not be frustrated? Hamas has not released the hostages. You understand that anybody who's calling what's going on in Gaza right now a genocide requires intent. That requires that there's no reasonable alternative explanation. They're not trying to release those hostages. No, Jewish lives are so useless to these people that they would accuse Israel of genocide. If you're accusing Israel of genocide, it's because you think that Jewish lives have no value And that's why, it couldn't be that the Israelis are simply trying to free the hostages. No, it has to be that they want to massacre the Palestinians. Oh, sure. Thank you
Well,
very much.
you look at the lack of media coverage on the pro-Palestinian left-wing basic, I don't know what you call him, activist, assassin, potential assassin of Governor Shapiro. I mean, we've not, we've not heard a peep from the fake news media about who this guy is, how he got radicalized, the fact that he's pro-Palestinian, the fact that he hates Jews, the fact that, none of that. It's just like, it's like the story was over. The guy was trying to assassinate the governor of Pennsylvania and his family for one reason, because Shapiro is a Jew. That's it. Yeah. And it's been disappeared off of any of the fake news. I'm going to get back to Paul Teller here, Executive Vice President of Advancing American Freedom.
There we go. Got it.
Teller,
what happened to Executive Director? We had a different title, I thought.
Executive Vice President.
No, he's right. That was an older title. We kind of wanted to make it sound a little more impressive. Who knows? Whatever.
Oh, you've been upgraded. All right. Congratulations.
So, who knows?
Rabbis, even the rabbi is behind Tyler or our producer in what the right title is. So Tyler, thanks for putting that in the Chiron, making it very easy for me after 15 weeks of me not figuring out these two gentlemen titles. Paul, I want to get to Harvard.
Yeah.
Defying the president's order. President says, okay, the $1 billion you're getting gone, and they're defying it again. I guess a lot of people are saying, I think they were getting $2.1 billion. They got a $97 billion endowment. Like, why are we getting them money, Paul? Like, who cares what they say?
Yeah, it's totally unfair. And here's the thing, with a $2 trillion deficit last year, another similar amount expected this year, interest payments, the number 3 expenditure in the federal government after Medicare and Social Security. We just have to cut just about everything everywhere. And a great place to cut is, as you said, wealthy universities that have plenty of their own money, have the ability to fundraise and continue to get plenty of money from their alumni and other supporter communities, and are doing questionable work. And by the way, when they're talking about removing the tax status, the nonprofit tax status of Harvard and others, from what I understand, I'll admit I have to look more into it, but from what I understand, it's because there's accusations that these organizations, Harvard and others, are violating federal civil rights laws. And so, you can't be violating federal civil rights laws and be a legitimate, in good standing nonprofit organization. So I think it's all going in a great direction, and they're getting their comeuppance.
What do you think, Rabbi, of these universities that are harboring, I don't know what the word is, harboring, promoting, not condemning Jew haters?
I want to concur with everything that Paul said. The situation at Harvard is such that Jewish students are choosing to go elsewhere. And so, okay, it's very sad that scientific funding is being suspended. But the whole point of scientific research is at a university. Why is it at a university? To involve students. If Jewish students feel they're not safe on that campus and cannot go there, it would be unconscionable to give those universities government funding as if the Jew hatred that they had on campus was somehow more tolerable than if it was a campus that had a chapter of the KKK. In fact, the last time a university lost its tax exemption, it was Bob Jones University because of explicitly racist policies about blacks and whites. And the idea that Jews should be treated differently, well, guess what? Every university in the country with an SJP chapter, let's not forget, on October the 9th, SJP was putting out a toolkit declaring that every person in SJP, Students for Justice in Palestine, which is really Students for Jew Hatred and Perversion, every member of SJP every member of that organization is part of this movement. They said, we're not in solidarity with the movement. We're not in solidarity with Hamas. We are part of Hamas. They joined. There was a gang of rapists and murderers and beheaders of babies and beheaders of adults and people to this day torturing and raping and starving hostages. And they said, sign me up. Any university that recognizes an SJP chapter, honestly, the president or chancellor of that university ought to be facing federal charges for providing material support to a foreign terror organization, because that's exactly what they're doing.
Paul Teller, what precipitated all this?
Wait, say again, I missed it. I apologize.
What caused all this? Like, what precipitated it? I mean,
it's a great question. We probably need hours more, of this show to talk about just right history of anti-Semitism. Why we get accused of things that no other group, not even just in America, in the world, gets accused of doing. Like Rabbi was saying, genocide. When if you're trying to commit genocide, by the way, you don't warn your target out of the way, right? So that's exhibit A right there, that you're of course not doing those things, but we still get accused of horrible things. I wish I understood, but let's face it, maybe just come down to some human jealousy, because on average, Jews put more emphasis on education and, have a higher success rate on an education scale, income scale. They're actively employed, and just maybe some folks don't like that. And by the way, maybe we'll even learn more of the details. I think it's just tomorrow, right, when there's going to be a Palestinian Day of Rage again. So we'll see what the latest accusations are that Jews are doing, and maybe we can dig into it. But yeah, it's a big mystery.
Can I say, John, none of those accusations are not thousands of years old. We've heard it all before. Last week was the Passover holiday. And during the Passover Seder, there's a book called the Haggadah. It tells the story of Passover, and we read it. And there's a key passage in there. And by the way, the fact that the Christian holiday of Easter falls at roughly the same time, that's of course not coincidental. Again, That's about Jesus being a Jew and the Passover Seder. And at the Seder, at the reading the Haggadah, we say, this is what has stood for our ancestors and for us, because it's not that one person rose over us to try to kill us and destroy us. Rather, in every generation, they will rise up against us and try to destroy us, and God will save us from their hands. That is something that is a constant in Jewish history. Look at Pharaoh, look at Haman, look at Hitler, and now look at Hamas. They all want Hitler's final solution. This is not a new thing. And what we're seeing on campus is just more of the same. And by the way, there's nothing with a greater, better history of destroying a civilization, ruining a civilization, than the persecution and expulsion of Jews that's going on right now in America. That's got to be stopped, or it's not the Jews who are lost, it's America that's lost.
Paul Teller, I'm going to give you the final word on this, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had something better to say. That was I was just nodding the whole time. That was fantastic. But put an emphasis on the point that none of this is new. We've seen it before. We've endured before as a people. Our allies have helped us endure, and in this case, as we were saying earlier in the show, it's believing Christians that are just absolutely best allies of the Jews right now. We're so grateful for them to stand up for Jews, for Israel, for America, and we're going to keep seeing that through the holiday season.
Any Jew that's voting for these libtards, these Democrats, like, they got to have their head examined. I mean, why would you vote for people that are part and parcel to supporting groups that want you dead? Like, why would you do that? For the life of me, I cannot understand the Jew that votes for these Democrats. I try to talk to them about it. I just don't get it. Like, you're supporting a party that is supporting groups that want to kill you. Like, what is the purpose of this? Like, Michael Patrick Lay is next. Thanks, guys. Great to have you with us. We'll see you tomorrow, bright and early.